more time. Oh, I love that. That's great. Now I have this one too? All right, one more time. Okay, thank you. Is this one any better?
No.
Excuse me, my sound tech is... I'm good? All right. Okay, so we're actually going to start the formal, sort of formal, part of the afternoon. And first thing I want to do is have Sam come up and sit on this stool.
Okay, I have to adjust the frame here.
Because after all, we're here to celebrate Sam's long-term time with us for 24 years, which has certainly set a record for Albany UU, and I don't know, may have set a record for Unitarian ministers in general. I know Dick Gilbert was like 40 something, but yeah. All right, so we do have a program, and I only printed 60 copies. And the reason I printed 60 is because I figured this is a minimal waste picnic, and you could share. So, here they are, and I will start them out here, and hopefully by the time they get all the way to the back, there'll still be some left.
You should split.
Yeah, I'm going to split. You can help. Thanks, Sam. Sam is not known for his dexterity. He says they were slippery. We'll give you one afterwards. You don't need to see what's coming.
All right.
Okay, how are they doing? Are they all the way back yet? When they get all the way to the back, Mike can raise his hand. All right, did the lawn people get any? Oh, the lawn people. I see a lawn person looking at one. That's a good thing. Okay. Some of the lawn people. All right, the lawn people they're waving. Hello, lawn people. All right, so we have many things to do here, many things to talk about. I have it strictly timed the way Sam always timed his services, so we know that it'll end right on time. Right, Sam? Except for the ones that went till 11:30, but we won't mention it. All right.
You got the hook ready.
Yeah, good. So first we're going to start with reflections from some of Sam's colleagues. And so we're starting with Bob Janis, who's the minister down at UU at Catskills. He's not here, but he did send in something I should say for you.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, he says, Reverend Sam, I bring greetings from UU Catskills and best wishes from myself. Personally, ministry is a word that means service, and Sam is humble, hardworking, empowering of others, especially on the margins, generous also with his abundant wisdom, and keen to help the world be a better place. Lest service be seen as an unexciting word, it should further be noted that Sam is adventurous, affable, funny, very human, and as you all know, darn good company. Now we can add another word to this list, retired. I don't know yet what this word means, and I suspect neither does Sam. But I'm sure he'll take to it with his usual sincerity and gusto and make it his own. Thanks for all you've given us, Sam. Here's to your next adventure. Best wishes from all of us at UU Catskill and from me, from Reverend Bob Janis. Okay, and unfortunately Joe Cleveland couldn't make it, but Wendy and Lynn are here from Schenectady, and they're the next ones up. And as the saying goes, on deck is Al Weisberg. Boy, that's a throwback. Al DeSalvo reading what Dick Gilbert had said.
Hi. It's good to see you. And it's good to see all of you. One of the things I note about these kind of gatherings is that if you can't hear, it's a lot easier if you do this than if you yell, turn it up. Because it's possible we can't hear you either. So when you make really big gestures, but we'll try to use our outdoor voices so that you all can hear. And if you can't, let us know, just like this. We are just so grateful, first of all, to have been invited to celebrate with you all, this great human. We first met Sam, we think, during our candidating week when we were candidates. This is part of co-ministry, just to know. Get ready. It's part of co-ministry. You are so right, my love. Reverend Love. For some of you don't know who the heck we are, so I'm Reverend Wendy, and I use my name rather than pronouns, and this is Reverend Lynn, who goes by they or she, just to know. And I think we first met during our candidating week back in 2017, and you reached out to us after we had been named as candidates to schedule a colleague gathering so we could meet people ahead of time. And we were so moved by that because moving across country from California to an area we did not know, to a cluster we did not know, to a land we did not know. We were so grateful for that, and it was a lovely breakfast. We got to meet fabulous fabulous colleagues in the area, and just so grateful. We then moved into the area, and we had several cluster gatherings. Pre-COVID especially, we were a little bit more regular in our gatherings. And we just really appreciated your welcome and the connection between our congregations. We know that we have people who cross-pollinate and move around, and that's great because I think the healthier all of our congregations are, the healthier Unitarian Universalism is. And that leads me to express, and we want for your success over this next period of time, so do your interim work. That's yours. And to name that piece about healthy Unitarian Universalism, you said yes to serving on the UUA board at a really challenging time. You said yes, and you keep showing up, and you keep loving our shared faith, and you keep nudging it towards its inevitable and or guided, because we don't really know, future. And in this living tradition, it can be so challenging to go through change together. We have just experienced 2.5, 3 years of mostly unchosen change, right? And so the fact that you said, I'm gonna put my hat in the ring and be part of helping shape Unitarian Universalism going forward at a time when we are facing some challenges from within Unitarian Universalism as well as challenges from outside Unitarian Universalism. And it was so brave, and we are so grateful that you made that choice. Thank you. In the spring, our gatherings, our Laredo chapter, the Religious Education Professionals, and the UU Ministers Association Religious Professionals meet together in our chapter retreats. And this spring, we had a lovely bonfire at the retreat center, and so many people shared lovely and loving and a little bit of roasting memories of you, including several of your interns, and just really, really grateful, and we want the best for you.
And as Bob Janis had mentioned, parish all ministry is about service, and parish ministry in particular can be service to other people's time schedules, and that vacations or study leaves or dinner gets interrupted by a pastoral care need or a memorial service or lots of other things, or sleepless nights worrying about all the things. And so it is our hope for you that as you move into retirement and whatever you choose to have that look like, that this is also a time for you of deepening your relationship with your amazing meditation practice, with your wonderful family, with your own sweet self, and to be able to give to yourself and those who have supported you so much in the way that you have given to the Albany congregation for 24 years. Thank you so much.
It's been such a delight to be working with Wendy and with Lynn, but she mentioned me stepping up for the UUA board. Let me just celebrate what Wendy has been doing, being the secretary of the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association and going through some pretty heroic stuff in the last, she started in 2019. Wendy started in 2019, and that was a challenging time to pick up the baton. And so, Wendy, thank you for your service too, and you, Lynn.
And now I'm doing the governance for the same body. Governance, woohoo! We just did bylaw changes, yay!
Bylaw changes!
Thank you for the invitation, and let's just do a round of thank you. Oh, we give thanks.
Oh, we give thanks
for this precious day.
for this precious day.
For all gathered here.
For all gathered here
And those far away.
and those far away.
For this time we share.
For this time we share
With love and care.
with love and care.
Oh, we give thanks.
Oh, we give thanks
For this precious day.
for this precious day.
Thank you. Okay. I just want to know, Sam, that when I was scheduling this, I didn't allow any time for you to talk. Yeah, he says it was a mistake. I guess it was. All right, now, you're up.
These are the words of Dick Gilbert. I regret not being here in person to honor Sam. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, as I discovered in my last trip to Albany 2 weeks ago. Sam came to the First Unitarian Church of Rochester, New York, fresh from Star King School for the ministry. He was what we might call a recovering electrical engineer from the University of California at Berkeley. He was a techie then and is one of our most astute ministers with technology. While I hope he learned from me, I certainly learned from him. I wasn't sure about the transition from engineer to minister and from California to New York.
Bigger, more hard.
But he made it with grace. And then he was off to Florida for 6 years. He apparently loved variety. However, having experienced the joys of a New York winter, he came to Albany. Side note from me, I remember when Sam first came here, he was still wearing woolen jackets in May and June. But he has thrived here, as you know, better than I. One has to be amazed at Sam's transition from practicing engineer to practicing UU Buddhist, or a Buddhist UU, which, while fascinating in itself, is an indication of Sam's passion for growth. I know Sam as respected colleague and friend. We have met often at ministerial gatherings. We have advocated together in the halls of the state legislature with many of you. I most treasure a picture of Sam and me on one of those great staircases, both of us looking a little silly but determined in our own clerical collars. On April 4th, 1992, I charged Sam at his ordination, starting with these words. All you really need to know about ministry, Sam, you didn't learn in kindergarten, nor in church, nor did you learn it in seminary, nor from the Ministerial Fellowship Committee. All you really need to know, you won't ever know, because ministry is not a knowing, ministry is a being. Sam, on this bittersweet occasion, I greet you. You have been a minister and helped this congregation to be Unitarian Universalist. I am proud to have been a part of your ministerial formation, and I wish you well in your retirement. Believe me, retirement is a very good gig. Enjoy it as much as you have enjoyed your ministry.
Now, Leah is coming up.
Oh, boy.
My name is Leah Purcell. I am one of the former DREs in the congregation. Yeah, so right now Elizabeth is serving, and we'll hear from her in a minute. But when I started, Ann DiTilio had been the DRE for 18 years. Yeah, and Sam helped her gain emeritus status. It's on the stationery, if you ever see it. And I think you two worked together for maybe 3 years, you and Ann, something like that. Oh, 8 years. Yeah, so 8 years. And then I come on the scene. I know, people think I knew stuff. I didn't know anything. But Sam was not only my mentor, he was my co-learner. So we started in experimenting and trying new things because we wanted to adapt to the times. We had this new worship space that we kept calling the new space, and now we call it community hall. And I think some of the most fun things we did was multi-generational worship, especially the in-gathering services and the water ceremonies. And so we said, how can we get creative about that? And so some of you might remember the year that we had a giant cloud come down that Sam loved, and the children and I made it, and Sam rigged it all up. There was another year that we did an ice bucket challenge at the end. Both of us doused our heads, and we did a water wrap one year. And I'm remembering in particular the year that we had the water trekkers. So we had people walk from the church building to Washington Park to the lake as a way of recognizing that not everybody has easy access to clean water. And this was going to be streamed by me with the water trekkers, he's laughing, to the service. And this was before Zooming and FaceTime, and I was new with my cell phone, but Sam got me all set up, so I'm with the water trekkers and stuff is happening in the service. And at one point, I made a disconnection and turned off my phone. But I carried on with the water trekkers, and Sam carried on with the service, and then the water trekkers and I came back to the building and entered the back of the hall just in the right time to finish the service, and it was all good. We have done some fun stuff together. And we were working without a roadmap. But I think that is one legacy that you're going to leave for us, Sam, is that if we have our hearts and minds in the right place, and we do the struggle to do the work, because we didn't always agree on stuff, but we did the work and we got it done, and then we learned, we celebrated, and then we moved on. And I think that is a great lesson for our congregation going forward. So I hope, Sam, that you enjoy, I know you have plans, but I hope that you relish all that you have accomplished. Lay down the responsibilities of being our minister and go forward with your fun-loving self and your open heart.
Okay, Elizabeth is on her way. The woman with the hat.
It's harder that he's sitting right here, I'm just saying. But I'm going to try to get through it. So, because this is a church function, my first comment is going to be to try to reunite somebody with their lost belonging. If anybody has seen a clear Pyrex bowl with an orange lid that once contained a green salad, Anne Von Linden would like to be reunited with her bowl. Thank you. The second thing I have to say is that Sam already knows how much I value him and how much I will miss him, both personally and professionally. So first, I'm going to speak on behalf of the congregation, many of whom have donated to a very generous cash gift that I will be presenting you with later in the week. If you haven't had a chance, it's not too late. Hit me up after the speeches are done. And on behalf of the children and youth, and their grown-ups. We have so many wonderful families, we have so many wonderful adults who volunteer, and we have so many great kids. And I want to present you with this card, big retirement wishes that many of them have signed for you. And I also want to thank you for your two specific things. The first thing is your constant work to support our families, our kids, their activities. A lot of what Sam does is invisible, and it is an incredibly wide range of tasks, from video editing to setting things up to psychological needs, practical needs, and everything in between. Filming Christmas pageants, finding materials, getting people to do things that they don't want to do, and then they end up are glad that they did. Sam does it all. And you have done so many things, and I appreciate it very, very much. And so do all of our families. And the second thing I want to say is the example that you have always set of being a lifelong learner, always willing to embrace new technologies, more than willing to embrace new technologies, learning new things, new ways of doing things, and more importantly, practicing what you preach and applying your knowledge into the things that you do and always striving to be better. And that is something that we will not forget, and we're just so grateful to you for everything that you've done.
Okay, so now we come to the next part of the program. And actually, Sam has been our minister through 9 presidents. And fortunately, all of those presidents are still with us. It is amazing, you know? And so we thought it would be fun to have each one of them, and I'm re-emphasizing this to the folks who are going to be speaking, to give you a 2-minute synopsis or whatever of what happened while they were president. So we'll start with John Newell.
Well, the first thing I should tell you is that Sam's tenure here and mine as president overlapped for a very short period of time, like almost very nearly zero. So rather than, so the next 15 minutes, as Chuck has indicated, I will give you something of the background that I spent getting ready for him to arrive. Because we had a minister before he was here, and she left precipitously and took with her her vacation money and her accumulated, we were broke. And fortunately, there was an interim minister who had only done about 27 interim ministries who got wind of us and said, okay, I said, I'm coming. And after some negotiations, Joe Bartlett joined us. It was his 28th interim ministry. When he was finished and went back to California, we hired Pam Langston Daly. I went to Boston, interviewed her, and she came following Joe Bartlett. And when she left and got a real job, we also found Davidson Lohr, one of the most stellar preachers in the UU, although one of the less talented in pastoral care. And when that was over, and Brandon, who has been running the search committee all those years, and because the president and the search committee are not supposed to have anything to do with each other, I didn't. And then, thank goodness, she delivered Sam, and it's now time for her to tell you what happened next.
No wires.
Well, that was an interesting talk. Yes, I did co-chair the search committee that brought Sam here, and I guess the congregation thought I should be the first president. It's a little hard to remember the details of 23 years ago, but in reading the 2000 annual report, I found that our music director, Meg Bassison, resigned that spring. So Sam had his first chance to help find a new person for music director. I had been music director twice during the time we lived here from the 60s, and so he and I were the auditioners. And I don't remember anybody else being on that committee. So, a young fellow who just arrived in Albany from New Orleans applied for the position. He said something about being offered a job in science, but showed us that he could really play the piano, and he also played the hymn for us on the organ. With that, we offered him the job, and Matt Edwards was our Matt Edwards was our music director for the next 16 years. Sam, we will miss you, but I hope that your future will include unexpected activities and rewards and retirement, just as mine has.
Randy and I are having a lot of fun with the chords here. We're just,
Sam, there were three very memorable events that occurred when I was president of the congregation. One was external, one was internal, and one was both. First, the external. When I became president in 2002, was just when we were starting the Unitarian Universalist group of 4 congregations: Schenectady, Glens Falls, Albany, and Saratoga Springs, which was just starting up. There was a lot of meetings and a lot of organizing, and Sam was incredibly skilled at keeping that whole thing together. The internal thing that we were doing, the 3 years that I was president, was the planning, the development, the getting the mortgages, the getting the fundraising, getting the design done for the expansion. And I left the presidency in 2006 just as we put the first shovel in the ground, and left the rest to the 2 Daves, Monroe, who followed me, and Metz, who we were lucky enough had the skills and the time to become our sort of on-site owner's rep. And the internal and external event that I remember so well, and I think the proudest of my tenure, was Sam's marrying 2 gentlemen from Catskill, and also our own Lynn Lukakis and Alyssa Kane, and I'm sure that later on they'll say something about it. But I will tell you that because of that effort, we became extremely well known. We were on the front page, top of the fold of every local paper, and were mentioned in the New York Times. And Sam became the go-to guy whenever anybody wanted to ask about marriage equality. So Sam, I couldn't have asked for a more memorable and satisfying time, the tenure that I was president. Dave, you're up.
So the question, I think, is how did Sam not just survive, but thrive for almost 25 years as our minister? We are a faith tradition that really wears down our ministers. They don't have this skill, they don't have that skill, so they're gone after 4 to 6 years. Not Sam. Why? I believe that the answer is in a series of talks and sermons he gave early on in his time about the importance of shared ministry. Sam stressed that congregations thrive when leadership and ministry are both effectively shared. Collaboration is the key. And we are all called to ministry, not just our ordained minister. In my view, and perhaps in John Newell's view as well, that was not always the attitude of some of our previous ministers. So Sam was a breath of fresh air. Sam didn't say, "This is my ministry." He said, "What does the church need in the way of ministry?" 2 key examples. First, Sam is known for social justice work, but that was not always the case. He came to Albany with a passion for spiritual practices, meditation. But, and these are Sam's words, as he followed the spirit of our congregation, he found in himself an unrealized passion for social justice. He led to getting us deeply involved in various very effective community organizing efforts. UU Albany is now known more than ever for its work for social change. The second example, soon after he arrived, Sam realized that there was a strong congregational desire to expand our building. Again, Sam words at the time, "This isn't what I had signed up for." He said he knew nothing about how to help a congregation do this, nor how we could possibly raise the funds. Turned out to be over $3 million. But Sam recognized that determination was there on the part of the congregation. Quoting Sam, "I know this would never have happened if I alone had been charged with leading this effort. But we did it. Minister and congregation working together with a shared sense of mission, vision, and purpose." And now the big question, what will Sam do next? Well, he's identified about 500 possible projects in retirement after experiencing a lengthy meditation retreat. Doing even a handful of these will take several lifetimes. And so, Rev Sam, we wish you many more lifetimes.
That's a good job. You can hold the mic. All right. Okay, Lynn and Alyssa.
We share. Aw. She's in charge of the, There's so much that we could say, but what we were going to say is we were sitting around in our house one Sunday night, and thank goodness we answered the telephone when it rang, and it was Sam, and he's like, "Hey Lynn, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'm good." And he's like, "Well, I've been thinking about something, and I'm wondering, I've been wanting to marry some people." It was all that time during New Paltz and stuff, but I have this personal practice that I only marry people that I know. So, from the congregation, he didn't want to marry just anybody. And so he says, so, are you and Alyssa, you've talked about getting married, right? And we said, yeah, we've talked about getting married. And I said, well, I think you should get married. I think we should do it. So I said, well, when do you think we should do it? And he's like, oh, how about next week? Oh, okay. Like, do we do it on Saturday? I can't remember. Yeah, it was Saturday. So Sunday night, we're going to do this thing on Saturday. And it's like, okay, we're event planners. We know how to do that. And I said, well, maybe we should talk it for a minute. We'll call you back in a couple seconds. I was like, Alyssa, Sam just called. And the next thing you know, so we did it. And you guys know, because you were very helpful also in the whole process. You stood behind us. You went out ahead of us. You helped us to, knock on the doors that need to be knocked on and open up other doors in order to get married eventually legally with Sam's leadership and a lot of the rest of you too. I don't know, I'm done talking.
So, yes, that happened. I have one regret. And I was trying to figure out how to make this happen. Like Lynn and I were connected in some way to like the power brokers of the world these days, but I could not figure out how to take you out of this event in handcuffs. So Sam was so excited about marrying us, and I remember on the phone, Lynn's like, "Yeah, Sam, when were you thinking?" And I'm standing there saying, like, "What are you talking about?" So I do believe that you handed the phone to me, and I said to Sam, this is precisely the problem with being gay, is that we can't get married. Like you missed that point, right? Okay. And I distinctly remember how excited you were and how excited the congregation was to throw us this wedding in a week. It was, to this day, the best wedding ever. And I recommend to everyone that they should have a week to get married. Plan. What else can you do in a week? What else can you do for the best wedding ever in a week?
And so the press conference was nice too afterward. The press conference.
It went wedding and then press conference. Yeah, total. So there's a lot of history there. It was so monumental for our family. And all of the people that you recognized at that wedding. Do you remember that day? You did something really incredible. You looked at us, and then you looked out at the congregation, the people there, and you said, would everybody who's just recently gotten married stand up? And this was a very monumental time because people were flying off to all kinds of places to try to get married. And there was so much, you showed us our community, and you married them again, and you embraced us in this community of support that isn't, man, you marched down, there was a group of elders that marched down State Street the day after the wedding to demand a marriage license. And Lynn and I were like, what are we doing? Look at these people, what are they doing? And then we're at City Hall. We're at the City Hall in Albany. And they demanded that they marry us. And they stood there, and you stood there with us throughout the entire process. You raised money for our legal fees. You were there at every time we lost in the judiciary. And then you were there to help celebrate when we signed our marriage license. 7 years after we did it. Wow. 7 years. So you modeled allyship in a way that was so authentic and fun and lovely and has such warm, sweet memories. It imprinted on us how one is an ally. And you all imprinted on us how people can be allies by standing next to, in an enthusiastic, kind of funny, funky, weird way. And it was so wonderful. And it empowered us. We spent the next 7 years being interviewed every time something came up about gay marriage. And,
Or as Nora would say, gay marriaging.
Gay marriaging. And it empowered us. We spoke out all the time about it. We put our family front and center in people's minds about what it looks like to be gay and married. And that, we could only do that because you were all standing behind us, next to us. That changes things. It changes things for the children of this congregation who are gay and who, in programs, I remember this program where we said, okay, what do you hope for your future? And the 17-year-old says, I want to marry my girlfriend, like in a couple of years. And I was like, no, you've got to be much older for that. It also helped cement our participation in government. So we have some things to share with you.
Because, we're in the government now. Now we're in the government. We liked it so much that we have to be a part of it. I'll do the first one. You do the first one. Okay. So you be in charge.
So I just recently left the office of Assemblywoman Patricia Fahey, but she sends her deep appreciation in a citation from the New York State Assembly. It says many great things, but it's one of the wonderful things it says is, for more than 2 decades, Reverend Trumbore dutifully led a congregation diverse in faith, ethnicity, history, and spirituality, and aligned in desire to make a difference for the good. So there you go.
Some of you may not know that I'm a county legislator, probably a lot to do with a lot of help from a lot of you when I first served 2 terms, and I recently just won a primary, so I'm hoping to be serving a 3rd one. But so I have this from the Albany County Legislature. Whereas, imbued with a strong sense of justice and equality, the Reverend Trumbore performed the first same-sex marriage in Albany in 2004, despite being turned away by the city clerk, and then signed the couple's marriage license 7 years later, mere hours after same-sex marriage was legalized in New York State, and
And I've moved on to a position with the City of Albany after suing them and losing. And from our mayor, Kathy Sheehan, she says, now, therefore, I, Kathy Sheehan, Mayor of the City of Albany of New York, do hereby proclaim Saturday, July 8th, 2023 to be Reverend Sam A. Trumbore Day. Next up.
Tough act to follow, right? All right, so Linda Way. There she is, sneaking up on me.
That's impossible to follow. I don't know. But I have known Sam from the beginning. I was on his search committee. A decade later, when I served as president, I saw that his commitment, his honesty, and his foresight turned what might have been real challenges into opportunities, and new ideas and programs emerged. First snapshot, we stopped going dark in the summer, and Sam was a leader in establishing high-quality, year-round programming that we enjoy today. So we thank you. Other significant snapshots with Sam at the helm. we began consciousness raising of white privilege and how to become an anti-racist congregation. Efforts to establish a safe congregation policy. And Sam gave a thoughtful sermon, How Safe is Safe. Creation of the Dream Catchers and the adoption of their strategic plan. Beginning of the program of Pastoral Care Associates. And Sam knew that would strengthen the fabric of our community. Working with other Capital District UU churches, as Al mentioned, to shout it out, build bridges, grow our faith. Our first joint Croonie gathering in Saratoga had over 600 people, and it was joyous. Sam kept the leadership looking at the balcony, but what I remember is his offering the congregation a chance to celebrate together a unique moment of history, and that is the 2008 inauguration of Barack Obama. I had told Sam how much it meant to me to celebrate Obama's election with other FUSA families. And he said, I'll set up a movie screen in Channing and we can watch the inauguration together. Sam knows that joy is multiplied in sharing. And there were few dry eyes in Channing for that inauguration. In closing, please forgive a personal note because it stems from gratitude. Recently, the movie 4 Weddings and a Funeral reminded me that for my family, Sam, as a minister, has been part of 3 funerals and a wedding. For his compassion and his caring, I will always be grateful. Thank you.
Okay, so it's my turn. And I'm not a reconstructed engineer or whatever it was that Dick Gilbert said. So I looked at this from an engineering perspective, and I was lucky to work with Sam during what I think were fairly peaceful years for the congregation. But in his annual reports, I have 3 quotes. The first one said, "I'm just a little bit exhausted. I began to understand why." And then the second one, he said, since 13 has been a lucky number for me, but that was in 2012, so clearly not an engineer. And lastly, my satisfaction, this is his 13th year in Albany, my satisfaction serving here continues to grow. And I think that during those years, it really did. I think we did a lot. During those years, our programs grew, we were getting along well with each other. And we were constantly coming up with new ideas, and I sort of think about it as the old spaghetti prep method, where you cook the spaghetti, you throw it against the wall, and if it sticks, then you keep the idea. So we threw out some ideas, and I made a list of those, but in the interest of time, I won't go through all of them. But I would think of 3 ideas that we had tried that we are not doing at the moment that I think we might want to consider doing again. One was an evensong, which was a weeknight service that was mostly music, which I certainly enjoyed when we did it. Monthly congregational-wide potlucks. I think this picnic is a good example of why we should do more of these. And then the West Hill Ministerial Fellowship, which I'm not sure if it's still around or not, but I think we need to reach out to those folks. But William James said that the greatest use of a life is to spend it for something that will outlast it. And I think what I have now is a list of all of the things that Sam did, which inevitably will outlast him. We ordained Chris Antel, who is now a clinical staff chaplain at the VA Medical Center in Philadelphia. Sam mentored V. Abbott, who is now a minister at the Coastal Virginia UU congregation in Norfolk, Virginia. Buddhist Voices of Unitarian Universalism published a book that Sam co-authored with Wayne Aronson. Now, apparently Linda and I have a disagreement about this, because I thought he started pastoral care during my reign, not hers, but anyway. 2010. Okay, maybe it overlapped there a little bit. But anyway, it's still going strong. It started with Randy Rosette, who's still chugging along with it, Sharon Babila, John Newell, Gene Bulgatz, Phil Rich, Jan Satin, and Mark Yoles. We signed a contract to put solar panels on our roof. We adopted the safe congregation policy. He remained croony even after the convener left, and it evolved into HMUU, which is Hudson Mohawk UUs. He started worship production meetings, and I think the services got better. He introduced Wellspring, started with Dave Monroe, Linda Way, Tom Mercer, and Dawn Dana. He did the Wheel of Life service. He married John Cooley and Jack Millard, and we also started working at Sheridan Prep. So for 3 years, I think that's a lot to accomplish, and I appreciate it. And Peggy.
So, Sam, your commitment to shared ministry, your energy, and your enthusiasm have enabled us to work on some hard things together, have enabled us, all of us here, to work on some hard things together and to accomplish some good things together. And I just wanted to mention a few examples. Governance. Yay, governance. Starting with that strategic plan, we said we got to do something about governance. We need to. And over time, we have. We adopted a new mission statement. We created the ministry and operations team. We adopted new bylaws, and we have a whole new flexible plan of governance. Thanks to that work. State level justice work. You were at the Capitol for Moral Mondays, for reproductive justice, and as a longtime board member of Interfaith Impact. And your leadership was crucial to launching Interfaith Impact's successor, New York Unitarian Universalist Justice, or NUDGE. And I want to mention growth through service. We know this is an ongoing initiative led by Dick Dana and Jay Holly, but back in 2015, it was just getting started. And you were very excited about your summer project to videotape growth through service conversations with Albany UU members. You were positively gleeful at the prospect of using new audio-video equipment for this project. In the end, you interviewed about 50 members and taped more than 18 hours of conversation for an introductory video of less than 10 minutes. One of your interviewees asked you, all the gear, is this on loan from a professional photographer or something? And when he learned that it was all yours, he said, wow, you're pretty hardcore, Sam. Wow, Sam, thank you.
Okay, and now we're going to take another little break between the presidents, and we have a special presentation by Randy Rosette and Chris Jensen. And this was
by Bob Franklin.
Well, I was getting to that. You guys are presenting. Bob Franklin has written in his inimitable style a song in anticipation or in honor of Sam's farewell, and we do have a copy of the words you can take with you.
Charlotte, where it's always sunny, found out that winter up here isn't funny, but he learned Albany really has springs. These are a few of our Sam Trumbore things.
Sermons on Sunday, on Trumbore in person. It skits with much rehearsing. Please mute his mic, it's too loud when he sings. These are a few of our Sam Trumbore things.
Lotus positions, unclothed really stings. These are a few of our Sam Trumbore things. Give a sermon, write a column, like the chalice flame. We know a little minister can do these things, but it just won't be the same.
Sam did get married when most others wouldn't. He did what right when they said that he shouldn't. He gave his blessing when they exchanged rings. These are a few of our Sam Trumbore things.
Sam is a techie and uses his noodle. Maybe they need a chaplain at Google. Now he's retired, let's see what that brings. These are a few of our Sam Trumbore things.
Every story has an ending, and this song as well. And as we remember these 24 years, we finally will say farewell.
Every story has an ending, and the song as well. And as we remember these 24 years, we fondly will say
I don't know. Without Bob, I don't know where we'd be. But anyway. Okay, Dick.
There we go. Now I can see it. I'm going to take a slightly different tack. Rather than talking about all the things that Sam and I worked on, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a taste of what that first year as president was like. And you'll know what year it was when I give you the rest here. My first year as president was full of unpleasant surprises. There was trouble in paradise, both locally, in our denomination, and in our world. Trump was elected. Peter Morales abruptly resigned as president of the UUA due to racist hiring practices. Locally, the Albany UU board was confronted with the uncomfortable fact that institutional racism was part of who we were as a congregation. These events led to increased stress in people's lives and shaking up of institutions. For Albany UU, it led to the formation of the inclusivity team. For the UUA, it led to the election of our first female president. As for Trump's election, here at Albany UU, it led to an immediate increase in newcomers entering our doors. Specifically young adults, and not necessarily the usual married with kids young adults, but singles and young couples looking for a place to join with others on the journey towards making sense of our scary world. If it weren't for Sam, I am sure I would have been at sea, both in dealing with the fallout from the negatives and in taking advantage of the positive outcomes that grew out of them. That first year, Sam was my rock. His Buddhist calm got me through many difficult decisions. It's not that Sam had the answers, or that he told me what I should do. It was that his clear-eyed realism and hard insights into problems, coupled with his confidence in the fact that a solution could be found, gave me the space to work through those problems and come up with my own way through the thickets. Sam is a person with great confidence. And when one has great confidence, one need not have a large ego. Sam's quiet work behind the scenes, never wanting to take the spotlight or take credit, letting others take credit for his insights, has been a blessing to our congregation over the last 24 years. So much of what Sam has done for our congregation has never been recognized or celebrated. We are a much stronger institution than we were 24 years ago. In so many ways, from diversity to governance to administration to interpersonal relations and to our vision of ourselves and our future together. Thank you, Sam, for all you've done for us. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine warm on your face, and I'm sure you know the rest. And I will miss you. We will miss you, Sam.
Hi, I'm Patty Jo Newell. As I was thinking about what to talk about, I knew pretty early that it wasn't going to be the clever anecdote or fun thing, because our shared leadership was truly dominated by the pandemic. And jealous as I was listening to these fun stories that you all have recounted, we did, however, have the opportunity to drag governance and bylaw change over the finish line. So that was uplifting. But if you have to go through a pandemic, Sam's the guy you want to do shared leadership with. A truly overwhelming an inspiring and at times overwhelming sense of positivity and a constant state of readiness enabled us to meet the challenge and then some, and not just for his much lauded love of technology, which we really went to the top with for keeping us together as a community, but just pulling it together, and we became even a stronger community through that. We actually increased numbers that first year. People, their generosity and people giving of their time, talent, and treasure to have us pull through. We had people from different parts over the country tuning in to Albany UU to join us on Zoom. It was exhausting, truly, but as a colleague in leadership, you were extraordinary through that. And I'm honored to have helped met the challenge, and I know that more than enough of that came from you. It was really your leadership there, so thank you.
Hello, Molly Daniels, the current president. So it was suggested that we might look back at the annual reports to help us think about what to say. I didn't think I needed to do that. It's pretty fresh in my mind. And as far as what we've been up to this last year, not much. It's been a really quiet year. So yeah, I know I'm lying. It's been a really crazy year, and you know, I'll just say from my experience, because it's been such a short period of time, what I want to refer to is, you know, I joined our congregation when I was about 30, and I'm now 50, almost 54. So I feel like I have sort of grown into my leadership at our congregation and under Sam's tutelage. So I have had many opportunities to work with Sam on many different projects, including governance, including, you know, bylaws changes and all of that. And so it's been a real great learning experience for me, but it's also been a great growth experience for our congregation. And I know that this year has been a little scary, probably for you, like, okay, 24 years of this, now what? You know, moving on to something different is always scary. And it's been a little scary for us too, because 24 years of very stable ministry, now you're opening the door to unknowns. And so it's a lot. And we are very thankful of the leadership that you have provided us during this time. In some ways, you have really set us up for having success for when we do work towards our next called minister, because we have a very strong congregation here with great leaders, with great experiences. in some other ways, you may have set us up a little bit because the next ministers may not be energizer bunnies like you are. They may not be able to work at the pace you work at. It's pretty amazing the amount of things that you have been able to accomplish in 24 years. So I just want to say thank you from us and from me personally.
So now I've heard from the presidents, and I know I've watched Sam do a number of memorial services, and he's really excellent at when the formal service ends and he says, would anybody from the audience congregation like to say a few words? And he usually says something like, be brief, and then he says something like, he cuts it off after about 5 minutes. So if anybody, I mean, you can all talk to Sam, you know, personally after we're done here with the formal things. Also, please note, sign the card if you haven't signed the card already. But if anybody has anything really burning that they would like to say to the whole group, now is your chance. You'd have to come up here to do it, yeah.
I don't mind that. Please go around.
So you can come this way. Yeah. And if there's anybody else that want to get behind Julie, we'll have 3 or 4 max.
Hi, I'm Julie Mauer, and thank you, Sam, for many years of putting up with all my eccentricities and so on. But I really want to mention Interfaith Impact, which you gave a shout out to, but my husband, Rob Smith, was the executive director. And Sam, along with Dick Gilbert, we spent many years traipsing around the Capitol and visiting legislators. And Sam was always there for us, along with Dick Gilbert was another regular. So I just want to pay homage to you for that.
You may not realize that Julie is one of the most effective organizers to get us into the meetings with legislators.
Oh, yeah, I did.
She was very good at that.
I just want to say thank you to Sam for so many awesome years. And I was actually here before Sam as well, some old timer here. And but I want to say special thanks for his cooperation, for officiating our potluck Mardi Gras surprise wedding at our apartment. It was so fun, and everyone always has great stories to tell about it.
I just want to thank Sam for his support of the Green Sanctuary Committee activities, and I want to recount one great memory, which is Sam somehow, I think with the help of Sandy Stubing and others, got us a meeting with the governor, the governor's, helpers. And when we had passed the congregational resolution to block fracking in New York, and within a week of that meeting, the governor banned fracking in New York. And I
Hello. Nice to see you. It's wonderful to be here. And Sam, I just wanted to share one memory of when you were fairly early coming on. One of the things I think that we appreciated both, I was on the membership committee at the time, but I think it was powerful for many committees that you provided support and background and advice when asked for, but you really did a nice job of, I think, encouraging all of us to be empowered in the committee work that we were doing. So I'd like to thank you for that. And we're going to miss you.
Hi, my name is Jim Reed. Thank you, Sam, for welcoming us to Albany UU in 2012. And in 2013, Sam married my husband and I, Tom Levitt-Dusky. And this month we celebrate our 10th wedding anniversary. Thank you, Sam, so much for everything.
Sam, I want to thank you for having
the ability to last 24 years. When certain jobs, I always say that we never leave middle school, and I say that from having done kind of work where I saw that we never leave middle school, and you got us through middle school. But on a personal note, there sometimes we kind of get stuck in the mud and we say can't, you know, and that happened when I wanted to do Sheridan Prep. I wanted to join others at Sheridan Prep, and people who might ordinarily recognize discrimination that affects them, they don't see it when they're blind to discrimination in other situations. And I had my then wonderful dog, Ada. I have many wonderful dogs, but Ada and I were going to go to Sheridan Prep, and you really helped facilitate that to happen. And then, you know, it was like we'd always been there really quickly. And I thank you for recognizing that accountability and the need to support and recognize discrimination and support people in resolving it encompasses a lot of areas, as the 8th principle says.
Thank you.
Just before Sam came, my daughter Beth and I, we were up in Clifton Park, and for some reason, I don't really know why, but we decided we wanted to find a congregation. I'd sort of sung in choirs in different churches throughout high school and college. So we came down to Albany UU, and I've got to say, I'm sorry you're leaving. I'm going to miss you, but thank you for giving us a wonderful taste of what UUism is and how wonderful people are.
Hi, I'm Rob Smith. You know, I remember when Sam first came here, and there were a lot of ministers who stood up and they sort of gave the impression that we were a scary congregation. And Sam he was coming and going into battle. Well, we hadn't met Sam yet. And he has put a stamp on this congregation, and he put his stamp especially on social justice work, and for that I want to really commend him. Without Sam's steadfast support over decades, we would not have been able to maintain interfaith impact, and that's a fact. And interfaith impact made a difference while it existed. And it had served its purpose, got all of its legislation passed, and we passed. But during the time that it was existing, Sam was the pillar that made it possible for us to continue year after year and work effectively also with the Reformed Jews and the other Protestant congregations. It's really great. So Sam, I want to thank you for that.
Hi there, I'm Mary Applegate, and I also wanted to thank you for your work in social justice, and particularly in modeling for so many of us the importance of bringing our UU selves, our UU deeply held religious beliefs to the legislature to say, this is why we are here. We don't just think it's a good idea. We're not just some bunch of liberal hippies. It is part of our religious beliefs, and thank you so much.
Okay, so that about wraps it up. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the receptions committee for all they did on the fair. And again, the Green Sanctuary Committee for making this a pretty much zero-waste picnic. To wrap it up, I think we should all sing a song. And Randy, this is totally unscripted. I think we should sing, we say He's a Jolly Good Fellow. All right, everybody ready? I'll tell you a quick story. We had a birthday party for Phil Rich, and we sang it to Phil Rich, and he thought it was wonderful, so. I'll sing it, He's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a
Well, unaccustomed as I am to public speaking. Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone. Especially thank you for all of the times when you were thinking, I don't know if I can do any more of this. And you stuck it out. Because we all know that anybody who's done committee work, anybody who's been involved in congregational life knows that there are tough times that happen where, there are disagreements and we struggle with stuff and we come up against really hard issues. And there's that feeling of wanting to say, well, maybe it's time for me to disengage or maybe step back. And I want to really appreciate all of you for the times that you said, instead of stepping back, you stepped forward and you engaged and you did a little bit more than you thought you could do. And because the thing that is so underappreciated in being the focus for ministry is the dimension that it is community that we create together. And just Dave Monroe's quoted that well, because none of the things that I have done, so much of it came out of the interactions between us. It's the creative energy that we created together. And this is especially true. Henry Nelson Wyman talks about the concept of creative interchange. And that it is the creative interchange that we do together that is so thrilling and so exciting and creates the bonds that bind us together. This very event of coming together to celebrate, I'm happy to be the object for it, but at the same time, it is the connections that are happening here between people meeting each other, people finding new things out about each other, the building of community. And that, for me, the dedication that I have is to the community, to what you are together, and that it continues to grow. And I know that you've chosen well to have, you've got Linda Hottie and Lynn Ashley coming in, who will be your primary people working with you. People who are deeply experienced ministers who are going to do a wonderful job. If they do stuff different than me or better than me or worse than me, it doesn't matter. They're going to be wonderful. They're going to do a great job with you to prepare you for what comes next. And I know that it's going to be very difficult for me because I want to be part of it. I want to be in the background. I want to cheer it on. But at the same time, I have to step back. I can't be part of it. I can't be part of any of the governance stuff because I want to, allow that process to happen. So, again, I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to be called. I remember every year I would write in my annual report, my God, I'm having such a great time. I'm really, it's always been a feeling of celebration at the end of each year of all the things that we've done well together. And I know that that will continue. I'm excited for that to continue. And I'm just so happy that you called me here 24 years ago, and I'm glad to be finishing now. And it's hard to let go, but I'm going to let go. So thank you.
Okay, that's it. Remember to take your dishes home. We don't want to end up leaving them all over Thatcher Park.